that secret you keep, the one even you don't understand. This volume holds its true name. Welcome to LibCurio, Library of Curiosity. Shush, please keep silent. And now the next chapter begins.
You wake inside a silence that hums, as if the air itself is holding its breath. The sky above you is not a sky at all, but a vast lid of stone etched with eyes that never blink. When you move, the ground moves with you, soft, breathing, like the skin of something asleep beneath your feet. From the corners of the dark, shapes begin to lean closer. They are faceless, yet crowned. Their shadows fall across you like commandments you never chose to follow. And in the hollow of your chest, a thought arrives, not spoken, but carved into you. The gods were born in fear, not worship, not wonder, but the trembling of your ancestors who saw too much in the dark and gave the shadows names so they would not go mad. What do you fear when the lights go out? Is it the silence itself, or what might be listening inside it? Every age has told the same story in different masks. A storm was not just a storm, it was the anger of a god. The sea was not just the sea, it was a mouth that swallowed whole. Disease, famine, the shifting earth. All were the shadows of something greater, something unseen. But what if the gods were never real? What if they were mirrors, amplifying the tremor in your chest, the scream you swallowed before it reached the air? You still carry this inheritance. You kneel to forces you cannot name, and you pray not because you are holy, but because you are afraid of loss, afraid of death, afraid that without something watching, the world is nothing but chaos with your face pressed against the void. So ask yourself, when you whisper to heaven in the quiet of your room, who are you really speaking to? A god, or the echo of your own fear, given a crown, a name, and an altar? Imagine the first fire, a trembling circle of light pressed against an ocean of night. Your ancestors huddled close, hearing the dark breathe. Wolves, serpents, shadows, they waited just beyond the glow, teeth and eyes uncounted. Somewhere in that silence, someone whispered a story, not about the wolf itself, but about a being larger, hungrier, untamed. A god of hunger, a spirit carved from dread. The moment it was named, the terror could be pointed to. Fear was shaped. Fear wore a crown. And so the first gods were born not of wonder, but of trembling survival. The pattern repeated. Lightning became fury. The sea, a throne for leviathans. The wind tore through forests like the scream of spirits. By giving fear form, the unknown became a stage where gods walked. But fear, once given shape, never rests. It grew hungrier with each story. Soon, the fire that once protected human life flickered inside minds, feeding gods who watched not only storms and oceans, but thoughts, desires, guilt, shame. Picture a village on the edge of famine. Crops fail, children's eyes glaze with hunger, the earth cracked and silent. A shaman enters the square with a mask, painted eyes, carved teeth, feathers like a crown. He tells them the god of harvest is angry. The people bow not to him, not to the mask, but to the weight pressing in their ribs, the fear of vanishing. They burn their last grain, cut their palms, and let blood fall into the dust. Days later, when rain returns, the mask becomes sacred. Fear has made the divine real. Empires rise and the pattern scales. Kings drape themselves in divinity. Armies march, claiming to serve gods whose thrones no eye has ever seen. Yet at the root is the same trembling, fear of loss, fear of death, fear that without gods, life is meaningless chaos. The gods survive not because they are real, but because fear insists they must. Sometimes you dream of standing before an altar carved into a mountain. The stone is wet with centuries of offerings, warm beneath your hand as if it beats with its own heart. A quiet voice comes not booming, not divine, but patient, weary. I am not real. You made me so. And now I cannot die until you forget your fear. But you do not forget because fear is useful. It binds tribes, whispers obedience into children, writes laws, preserves life. And then, one night, you walk into a city of silence. No footsteps echo. The streets are lined with statues, frozen mid-prayer, faces lifted toward a sky that does not exist. At the center, a temple stands open. No idols, no altars, only a mirror. You approach, expecting your reflection, but what stares back is not you. A figure crowned in gold, eyes vast as storms, mouth unmoving yet heavy with silence. Your chest tightens. You kneel not in reverence, but in exhaustion. The mirror cracks, shards rain around you. In each shard, a different version of yourself stares. One who obeyed, one who doubted, one who burned the temple, one who built it. And in that fractured reflection, you realize the gods were never out there. They were the echo of your trembling heart, multiplied into eternity. Fear forged them, fear worshipped them, fear preserved them, and in every temple, altar, and whisper, they remain alive because you never stopped trembling. Fear is not just a shadow outside you, it is a clockwork inside your own mind. Neuroscience whispers at first. Your amygdala, a tiny almond of survival, flares before thought can catch up. Long before the conscious mind names danger, the body has already shivered, recoiled, fled. This is the machinery that birthed gods. The body knows terror before the mind knows prayer. Think of Libet's experiments. The brain decides before you do. Your free choice is often just the echo of a decision made in darkness beneath awareness. The trembling that made a god in a cave is the same trembling that shapes your moral universe today. Fear sculpts the gods you worship, yes, but it also sculpts the laws you follow, the desires you chase, the boundaries you dare not cross. Consider the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius might have walked past temples in Rome and seen the grandeur of gods made of bronze and marble. Yet he understood the true divinity lies in detachment, the power to observe fear without surrender. What if the gods you fear are nothing but the shadows of your own trembling? What if reverence is simply a mirror and worship a dialogue with the architecture of your own survival instincts? Anthropologists tell us, every myth, every ritual, every offering has one root. It is fear transformed into meaning. The thunderstorm, the volcano, the plague, they are the world's cruelty mirrored in human imagination. By creating gods, humans externalized the chaos, gave it form, made it predictable, made it obeyable. Yet the irony is exquisite. Once fear takes shape, it takes a life of its own. The gods, once born from trembling, begin to dictate trembling. They whisper rules into hearts, shape empires, demand sacrifice. And you, centuries later, still kneel before shadows of shadows, still feel the pulse of the ancient fear that birthed them. Even Buddhist philosophy observes this. The self, like a god, is an illusion stitched together from perception, memory, and craving. Fear perpetuates illusion. It gives weight to emptiness, urgency to nothing. The gods you see outside are reflections of the gods you carry inside, the ancestral echo of your nervous system's first flinch. Every ritual, every prayer, every whispered plea is a conversation with the ghost of your own trembling. And so you begin to understand. Fear is both creator and jailer. It forges the architecture of the sacred, then walks the halls as guardian. It offers comfort and control, yet leaves the mind suspended in awe and obedience. The divine is not outside, it is the shadow cast by your own fragile heart. You see this pattern everywhere, in childhood fears that haunt adulthood, in political ideologies that demand obedience, in markets that sway with the tremor of collective anxiety. The gods of the mind are everywhere, made alive by the same mechanisms that once ensured survival, that once saved you from wolves in the dark. And here is the most delicate truth. Liberation is not denial, nor rebellion, nor destruction. It is awareness. The trembling remains, but when you name it, when you witness it, when you fold it gently into consciousness, the gods bow. Not dead, not gone, but transformed. No longer monsters, no longer masters, but mirrors. Maybe the gods were never outside you. Maybe they were the tremor under your ribs, the pulse in the hollow of your chest, the whisper that made you bow before shadows. You stand again before the firelight of your own making. Its warmth does not chase the dark, it dances with it, flaring and flickering in rhythm with the ancient pulse inside you. Every shadow on the wall is both monster and teacher, both mirror and mask. Look at the sky. The stars are carved wounds, yes, but they also burn in rhythm with your own heartbeat. The gods you have feared, the idols you have prayed to, the shadows you have worshipped, they are all reflections of the trembling that makes you alive. And in this revelation, there is no relief, no release, no answer. Only awe, only wonder. Only the quiet recognition that survival, creation, and fear are inseparable. The temples crumble, the masks fall, the mirrors crack. And still, you walk forward. Because in acknowledging the trembling that made the divine, you find not weakness, but a kind of fierce clarity. The gods remain, but no longer masters. They are companions, silent witnesses to your journey, born of fear, but carried by understanding. And perhaps that is the greatest story of all, that the architects of eternity were not above you, not outside you. They were the shadows you carried, the myths you made, the trembling you learned to name. What if the God you worship is nothing but the echo of your own trembling? What if every altar, every prayer, every whispered plea is a conversation with the shadow inside you? Do you fear the darkness or the part of yourself that hides in it? Do you obey rules, follow rituals, or bow to gods because they are real or because your fear insists they must be? If the trembling that created divinity lives inside you, what would it mean to meet it without kneeling? To see it clearly, unflinching, and not give it shape or crown or altar? And what of the world beyond your mind? Are the gods truly gone when the statues crumble, or do they live in the flicker of every human heartbeat, waiting for the next shadow to tremble? Can fear ever be released, or is it the very engine that made you human? The silent architect of all creation, worship, and survival? And if you answer, will you hear an echo that belongs not to the world, but to yourself? Until next time, stay curious, stay unsettled. Remember that freedom isn't a distant place you reach or a chain you break, but the quiet witness within the shadows you once called walls. In the stillness, the true self begins to breathe. LibCurio never closes, and the next chapter awaits, patiently waiting to unfold in the silence.